Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with grilled jerk pork tenderloin. That's right, we're taking the same amazing Caribbean spice blend that you know and love from chicken and applying it to the always user-friendly pork tenderloin. And is it as good? Well, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but it might be better. So here's how we do it. We're going to get our fresh ingredients together first. I have some fresh thyme. You can use dry, but I like the fresh. Some minced ginger, a little bit of onion, some garlic, and of course some hot pepper. Traditionally, we're going to use Scotch bonnet for this, but I'm using habanero, which is basically the same thing. So either one, Scotch bonnet or habanero, both very fruity and extremely hot, so that's what you want. Now, as far as how many to put in, use 1 if you're normal, 2 if you're crazy, 3 if you're insane, and 4 if you want to be like Chef John. You're going to want to cut those in half and take out the seeds before you throw them in here. So we're going to toss all that in the blender, and we're also going to add our fresh thyme, some white distilled vinegar, some soy sauce, some vegetable oil, all right, some brown sugar for a little sweetness. I don't know why it tastes so good. Some salt, some freshly ground black pepper, some cayenne, of course. And then the jerkiest of all the jerk spices, ground allspice. Please do not substitute most spice or some spice. You want to get the allspice. Mandatory ingredient, all right? We're also going to add some freshly grated nutmeg and, last but not least, some ground cinnamon. All right, we're going to take that over and we're going to blend that until completely smooth. And you know I always recommend stopping to scrape down once or twice. So we're going to process that until completely smooth. And by the way, in case you're wondering, the name jerk seasoning is kind of a mystery. There's many theories on how that name came to be. The one I like the best is it was invented originally by jerks. All right? And right there, that's looking perfect. So we're going to turn that off and we're going to reserve that until our pork is prepped, which is the next task. So we have 2 pork tenderloins. They're pretty much trimmed and ready to go, although you do have to take off a little bit of that silver skin. And you've seen us do this many times. Take a sharp, thin knife, stick it right underneath the silver skin, being careful not to angle your knife into the meat. And that stuff should come off fairly easily. You don't have to go too precise, just get most of it off. All right, so we're going to clean those up. Once those are fully trimmed, I'm going to show you a trick of how I like to cut this for the grill. So a pork tenderloin has 2 ends. It has kind of a flat tapered end and then more of a fat rounded end. So I want you to find that thinner, flatter tapered end, which is to our right, and I want you to make a cut almost halfway, okay? So there's one piece. Then you're going to be left with a fatter piece of pork that I'm going to cut lengthwise in half like that. And if I flatten those 2 pieces out a little bit, I have 3 pieces that are just about the same size, thickness, density, etc. And that means it's going to cook evenly on the grill. And there you go. So 2 pork tenderloin are going to give us 6 nice portions. We're going to go ahead and transfer the pork into a sealable plastic bag, pour over our jerk marinade, and then give it a good massage. Not one of these light, touchy-feely sports therapy massages. I'm talking deep tissue. Make my masseuse Helga proud, which, by the way, is not easy. She's quite terrifying. Once the meat is completely coated with the marinade, we're going to put that in the fridge for a marination period of between 4 and 6 hours. Of course, you can go longer, but then you're on your own. I think overnight would be over-marinated, but that's up to you. But I'm officially suggesting 4 to 6 hours for the maximum marination sensation. And 6 hours later, mine was ready to grill. So I pulled it out of the marinade. I wiped off all the excess. You can have a little bit on the surface, but you don't want it sopping wet. Some people like to re-season before they put it on the grill here. I don't think it's necessary. So I'm putting mine straight onto my preheated, very hot, very clean, very well-seasoned grates. All right, so I'm going to place those down, and then very important not to touch them for at least 5 or 6 minutes. Anytime you're grilling meat that has a wet rub on it or a marinade, it's really going to want to stick. So if you try to pull it up right away, you're going to tear the meat. Don't do it. Just let it sit there, and like magic, 5 or 6 minutes later, that meat's going to tighten up, those grill marks are going to form, and it's going to release from the grill. Just like that. All right. And stuff like this, I can't really give you times. Mine went for about 6-7 minutes aside. But really, you're going to want to go by temperature. 145, perfectly safe for pork tenderloin. Don't overcook your pork tenderloin. Personally, I'd rather get food poisoning than eat dry pork. But that's just me. All right. And then one other tip here is these get close to being done. I like to kind of move them around so the thickest end of the pork is facing the hottest part of the grill. All right, so you're always going to have hot spots when you're using charcoal like this. So I like to move my meat around. It just makes it a little less likely you're going to overcook those thinner parts. All right, and then right there I decided mine are done. I'm taking them off. Of course, you're going to let this rest at least 5 minutes, and while you're letting them rest, you can figure out how to plate. I went with some additional fresh thyme and some fried plantain chips, which I thought made a nice presentation. And of course, if you followed my directions to a T, you're going to be looking at some extremely gorgeous, juicy, perfect pork. Look at that. See that little bit of a pink blush? That means this is not overcooked, and you're going to be tasting some spectacular pork tenderloin. I decided to serve mine with some black beans and rice, a few extra plantain chips, and I actually was thinking of putting a salsa on this, like a mango salsa to garnish, but I decided to taste it first. It was so amazing, so tender, so flavorful, I didn't even make a sauce. I just ate it like this. And juicy texture aside, the flavor was really, really nice. Spicy, aromatic, interesting, just everything you want from a grilled meat. So I really hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.